Hi, I'm Granny, and we're going down the rabbit hole of the brain and our emotions. Does understanding our brain help us to function better? Does understanding our circadian rhythm help us understand our bodies better? Have you ever taken your emotional temperature? Some describe our personalities are tied to our emotions, comparing how similar we are to Russian nesting dolls. Layers to our personalities that our emotions strongly dictate how we behave. One nesting doll can represent anger, another happiness, another sadness, another joy. When somebody is going through the process of grieving, they often experience every emotion in a very short period of time and not just once. All of us experience grief differently and for different periods of time. There is no correct way to experience grief. Studies describe emotions as sensations in the body. Feelings come from our thoughts about these emotions. Feelings are how we interpret emotions. Often we use the word feel for both physical and emotional states. Emotions are the result of complex chemical reactions in the brain. Remember how the sun creates energy through chemical reactions? Well, to understand this better, these chemicals and their reactions are controlled by neurotransmitters and hormones. These reactions are a biological response to situations that the brain receives as nerve impulses. You're having right now watching this video. The brain can adjust how we respond to things and alter your mood by layering signals from different chemicals on top of each other. Feeling anger and happiness at the same time. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that neurons secrete to signal other cells across a synapse. Think of how you feel when you are watching a sad movie or how you feel watching a Robin Williams comedy. Your brain is responding to what you are watching. When we went down the rabbit hole of circadian rhythm, we learned that morning light entering the eye will signal certain hormones in our bodies to turn on daytime hormones and turn off nighttime hormones. When we laugh, hormones dopamine and serotonin alters, improving a person's mood. Excuse me. Therapists have learned that laughter is beneficial for mental health. Norman Cousins was an author, professor, and political journalist who wrote the book Anatomy of an Illness as Perceived by the Patient: Reflections on Healing. The book was made into a movie in 1984. In his book, he describes how laughter lessened his pain. Cousins did research on the biochemistry of human emotions, which he long believed were the key to human beings' success in fighting illness. Our circadian rhythm cycle occurs throughout a 24-hour period of time. Ultradian rhythms are 90 to 120 minutes per cycle. Patterns happening during our wake and sleep cycles. Scientists studying sleep use the term ultradian in reference to the 90 and 120 minute. So it's between 90 minutes and 120 minutes cycling of the sleep stages during human sleep. The primary purpose of ultradian rhythms is to manage the energy production, output, and recovery that occur in all humans as well as animals, plants, yeast, and fungi. Andrew Huberman, an American neurologist or neuroscientist, podcaster, and associate professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology at the Stanford University School of Medicine, recommends understanding our ultradian rhythm when we are working on projects because it will increase our success. Huberman warned that generally the first 10 to 15 minutes working on a project is challenging, but if you are persistent, it gets you into the flow. Creatives and athletes often mention the flow or being in the zone. It is the mental state in which a person performing some activity is immersed in a feeling of energized focus, complete involvement, and enjoyment of the process. Often when I go down the rabbit hole, I am so absorbed that I lose complete track of large chunks of time. Sometimes I become aware and it's 5-10 hours later. It's so weird. Some describe the flow as the melting together of action and consciousness, requiring a high level of concentration. And I've noticed when I've gone to periods of time like that, I become mentally exhausted, where I have to recuperate a day or so. But I kind of think it's fun to be so immersed in an idea, thinking about all the different branches of a rabbit hole that can be discovered. Awareness and understanding of our moods and emotions help us understand the ultradian rhythm cycles. Being aware of these cycles when you are anxious or calm will help you learn to better sync with the ultradian rhythm, which helps you get into the flow and help you with your projects. And that kind of ties into taking your emotional or psychological temperature. Jules Verne, author of 54 novels, including 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, In Search of the Castaways, Journey to the Center of the Earth, once said, "I've traveled the world while sitting in my chair." And so have I while reading his books. Scientists state that memory is necessary for imagination and creativity. Memory is important to creativity because it helps people find information to solve problems and generate new ideas. Creative ideas come from combining information from different types of memories in new ways. Creativity boosts our positive emotions, helping us feel more optimistic about who we are and giving us a feeling of accomplishment. If you are ever challenged with creating a successful team to work on a project, I recommend that you find the most different personality types possible, because ideas coming from different perspectives often result in the most creative solutions. According to scientists, certain mind frames disturb our brains. Our wrong decisions are painful to remember, and I vouch for that, causing physical anxiety. The process of making a decision challenges the brain because your brain remembers bad choices. Consequences of the past can affect how you approach decision making today. The next time you are needing to make a decision, look at your problem with your creative mind, and maybe you will have less stress associated with your decision. Uncertainty exhausts our brain. We depend on certain outcomes like the rising sun. The more uncertainty in our lives, the greater the stress levels we experience. Increasing stress hormones like cortisol. High levels of cortisol and the stress affects our emotions. Have you ever noticed how you feel when you're waiting compared to how you feel when you're busy with your to-do list? Waiting is a stressor to your brain. Being aware of it can help you manage it. Cortisol is the primary stress hormone. It increases blood sugar levels, improves the brain's use of glucose, and helps repair tissue. It also slows down non-essential or harmful functions during a fight or flight response. The fight or flight response is a high stressor to your brain and body, and scientists are saying that most of us are living too much in the flight or fight or fight or flight response nowadays. Here is the key to understanding stress in the modern world. Being chronically under stress can lead to constantly elevated cortisol levels, which can have negative effects like a suppressed immune system, digestive issues, and heart disease. When Andrew Huberman suggested we recognize our moods in regards to the ultradian rhythm, we need to also learn to balance our emotions, learning to calm ourselves to reduce the stress in our lives. Huberman talked about the limbic friction as the gap between wanting to do something and actually doing it. It's the level of energy required to start a good habit. The brain doesn't like procrastination. It is a good stressor to your brain, and well, it is a huge stressor to your brain. It's okay to be careful in making decisions, but not to procrastinate. Remember, just because you have a thought doesn't mean you have to acknowledge it. If a bird lands on your head, you can look at it as something to ignore and shoo it away. Damaging thoughts are like a bird landing on your head and you let it build a nest. I put triggers in this category. Triggers affect our emotions. Some people heard their full name whenever a parent or teacher yelled at them, and it became a trigger for them. There are many definitions of triggers, as there are people. And all humans have triggers of one degree or another, and we need to manage them. I remember once a brother-in-law greeted me using my full name, and it almost made me cry. Not with sadness, but just a remembrance of my parents. Remembering my parents regularly used my full name while giving me hugs and loves. So triggers can be good and bad. I believe understanding our brain helps us to function better. I also believe understanding our circadian and ultradian rhythms help us understand our bodies, emotions, and feelings better. So what does it mean to take your emotional temperature? We need to regularly check in with ourselves. We aren't robots and life is challenging. Be kind and patient with yourself. Recognize, acknowledge your emotions and how you are feeling. Healthy self-care is properly caring for yourself mentally, spiritually, and physically. Thank you for spending your time with me, and please join me again when Granny goes down the rabbit hole. Please like and subscribe and share. Thank you.